everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bolt City podcast, courtesy of Odyssey. Big win for the Los Angeles Chargers on the road. They win as time expires 2017 over the Atlanta Falcons. Chargers improved to 5-3 on the season. And guys, the way this game started today, you thought, oh my goodness, the Chargers coming off a bye week and they aren't prepared. It looked horrible at the beginning, but the Chargers were able to pull it together.
Yeah, they pull it together. They get a win. That's all that matters. Like you said at the beginning of the game, I thought it might have been a blowout. We couldn't stop the run. They had all three running backs going, and we couldn't stop any of them. But I'm happy we finally get the win with Dicker the kicker, as Jonathan Vilma said. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, Big Dicker the kicker, baby. That's a second game-winning field goal this year. So two different teams, second game-winning field goal. But yeah, slow start. That's a fourth straight game. The Chargers were down double digits in the first quarter. So guys, stop doing that. But other than that, Chargers win. We could be worse. This could be a lot worse. Hard win on the road. I'll take it. Dave, you don't have to put on the shoes and walk all the way to back to LA. You're sitting pretty, and Chargers are sitting pretty at 5-3.
I'll be honest with you, I was panicking a little bit. I kept thinking, oh my goodness, I said that I would walk from Atlanta back to Los Angeles if the Chargers did not win this game at the beginning of the year. Now, look, at the same time, the Falcons are playing pretty well. I'm not going to sit there and say that there are things the Chargers did wrong, and we'll get into everything the Chargers did right and wrong a little bit later in the show. But this Charger team, we talked about it on Thursday before, obviously the Chargers were even in Atlanta and saying, hey, you got to watch out. They don't exactly have the weapons of guys that you go, those are guys that are Pro Bowl guys. But, man, they're getting the most out of the talent that they have. We all talked about how we were impressed with the coaching of the Falcons and how they're able to pull these wins out. And they have some impressive ones, including one against the 49ers, who the Chargers will face next weekend. Atlanta looked like the real deal. And the way this game started for me, I was extremely frustrated. I know all of us were. We're in a group text as the game is going on. And, it's the old line like, hey, look, I understand it's 10 a.m. in the morning when this game starts for the Chargers, who, how many NFL guys are ready to play at 10 a.m. in the morning? You got to be prepared. You're coming off a bye week. You almost expect this is going to be your best performance of the season anytime you come off a bye week. That's always one of those things Andy Reid gets complimented on, is how prepared he is off of a bye week. For the Chargers, it made you wonder, like, what were you guys doing? And how come they look so flat? But they were able to pull it together, and they were talking about it on television as you're watching that game, that every drive was either a 3-and-out for both teams or a touchdown, and then there was or a turnover. But it was a very strange game. It was an all-or-nothing game for a long time.
Do you take this game as a positive? Because I really do. Even though the Chargers looked pretty bad at the beginning, they really turned it around in the second quarter. I don't think they gave up a first down in the entire second quarter. The Falcons had negative yards. Exactly. They look pretty good. But you said it there. The Falcons are an actually pretty good team, surprisingly. Not many players on that team where you would say he's a star exactly, but they're good NFL players, including Marcus Mariota, who – I think had 6 passes that were dropped today, which equals about as many as they had on the whole season. I thought he looked pretty good. The running game was great for the Falcons, but this is a good win. And as we said earlier in the season, you'll take any win because in the NFL, every win is tough.
Yeah, I honestly consider it a positive win. Hey, this is a win on the road against a team that's leading their division. Crazy enough, Falcons number 1 in the NFC South. Whatever you think of that division is what it is. They're number 1, and we made it out of there alive with a W. We were down 10-0. We were able to come back and win the game. That speaks a lot. They didn't give up. They didn't roll over. Yeah, at some points of the game, did it look really, really bad? Yeah, very, very bad. I thought for a little bit, Chargers were really going to get rolled during it. But they came back. They won. I thought Herbert looked really, really good. So some defensive guys really played well. And like you said, Josh, there were some huge drops by the Falcons that I was thanking the Lord Savior for that. I mean, didn't go to church today, but I should have after I saw a couple of those. But Chargers pull out the win. And I thought Staley called a pretty good defensive game when he picked up the blitzes there in the second quarter, and that carried on to the rest of the game. I thought that really worked for him. But hey, can't be upset. And shout out Mac for the strip on London. That was beautiful.
That was an amazing play. So, again, the game was very strange. Josh just pointed out that the Atlanta Falcons had negative yards in the second quarter. The strange thing is when you look at the box score of this game is every quarter was a shutout quarter, meaning in the first quarter, Atlanta shut out the Chargers 10-0. Second quarter, Chargers shut out Atlanta 14-0. third quarter, Atlanta shuts out the Chargers 7-0. Fourth quarter, Chargers shut out Atlanta 6-0. Very, very, very strange game as far as the rhythm goes. I was kind of amazed watching Atlanta because I wasn't sold on going into the season, and you're going, how are you doing it? And they ran the ball 35 times. They threw the ball 23 times. So they went more running than passing. And one of those is you look ahead, because we all know that the Chargers have games coming up, especially against the Titans, who, Derrick Henry, you're going, man, if the Falcons can do this, what is Derrick Henry going to do? Chargers, on the other hand, Justin Herbert looks like he's getting healthier. I'd still would like to see them stretch the field. I did like what Justin Herbert did today with his lack of weapons. And we spoke about that a lot on Thursday going into the show, because saying, okay, you don't have Mike Williams and you don't have Keenan Allen. So what does that mean? Joshua Palmer today had 8 receptions for 106 yards, averaged 13.3 yards a catch, had some great catches. Actually had one that was fantastic that was called back because he had a lineman that was downfield. But overall, I thought the Chargers did the most with what they had. As we compliment Atlanta, you got to compliment the Chargers as well for the way they were able to use what they had, that the guys were healthy today, and to pull out that win.
I thought both teams made the most of their weapons, really. I thought the Falcons used everybody they could on their offense, and the Chargers did the same. And credit to Joe Lombardi. We've been tough on him throughout the season, and I think he deserves it. But today, as you said, Josh Palmer was involved in, besides that one terrible drop that led to an interception, he had a really great game. He looked really good. And if he can play that way with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams on the field, I think this Chargers team is extremely explosive. Gerald Everett as well. He was okay today. The thing that drives me a little bit crazy about Gerald Everett is I think he might be the most talented guy in the entire offense, but he has like a lack of focus 2 or 3 times during the game, either on drop passes or penalties. And it's really frustrating. But Justin Herbert, you can't give him enough credit for what he did today with the players that he had. I wasn't looking around the NFL of who was playing and who wasn't, but I can almost guarantee you the Chargers were right there at the bottom of talent they had on their offense, including their offensive line, because as we know, Rashawn Slater wasn't out there, and the lack of targets as well. But Justin Herbert looked great today. If he plays like that the rest of the season, I think the Chargers have a real chance in the playoffs.
Yeah, I thought Herbert did a great job of honestly using the weapons that he had today, and he threw a lot of guys open a little bit, or kind of threw them to the spot where he needed to them. And that's perfect, because, when you can't yell at them where you want them to be, you might as well throw it to where you want them to be, and then they'll be able to make a play. Joshua Palmer, the way he was able to create separation against this Falcons secondary was amazing. I think the next step for Josh Palmer is yards after catch, because when he catches the ball, I think there's some times where he doesn't really know what to do. He tries to do I always call the Tyreek Hill pause, and then you kind of make your move and you kind of see what the defense is coming from. You can do that, but you gotta be pretty quick about it too, because they're flying at you pretty fast. So if you're gonna do that, let's be quick about it. Be quick about your decision and kind of move forward with the football. But I was really proud of it. Austin Eckler, that guy is a god for the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, he is simply incredible. If he didn't get his left elbow down on that run, that would have been the highlight, I think, of Sunday afternoon, was that play. I mean, he was just absolutely incredible. I was a little worried about when they were snap counting him a little bit, but Austin Eckler by far. I mean, Herbert played great, but he still just blows me away every single week.
So a couple things right there that you said I want to touch on. Eckler is, I mean, we always talk about guys who play professional sports. Almost seems like this league is almost too easy. Like if there's another league, they would move up. Eckler is one of those guys. I mean, it's really an amazing career of where he is and how every week we're amazed by Austin Eckler. One thing I give credit to the Chargers for is when Eckler had that key fumble and they're driving to get into field goal range to win this game, I think a lot of Charger fans were, to use a word or a phrase that you use all the time, Mario, is that they charged it. This is what the Chargers do. And not to fall down and say, hey, we're going to just, guess what? We're going to settle for overtime. They came back with another huge play right away. It didn't crush the team. That play didn't crush them. I think a lot of teams would have been crushed by that, to go, man, we were doing everything we were supposed to do. We're managing the clock. We're moving the ball downfield. We're getting in field goal range. And Eckler, the guy you plan on most to secure the ball, all of a sudden fumbles, which didn't even seem like one of those hard knockouts. It wasn't where the guy reached in and stripped the ball away. And you're going, man, it was a Khalil Mack situation where a guy was just stronger than you. It looked like he barely got a finger on the ball and caused a fumble for Eckler. But the Chargers came right back. I mean, they were resilient. I mean, something we don't see from this team for as long as this franchise has been around. That's something that I think would eat up the Chargers in years past. Awesome job. And I mean, really, really impressed that they're able to put something bad that happened behind him and continue to move forward. Joshua Palmer, as far as the game he had today, and we talked a lot about it last week, this is what we were hoping for, right? This was a best case scenario for anyone who's a Charger fan, for Brandon Staley, for Joe Lombardi, to say this was probably his coming out party. And then when the other guys do come back, when you get Keenan back and you get Mike Williams back and you have Joshua Palmer, all of a sudden, man, you got that three-headed monster from the wide receivers is everything you could possibly hope for. Am I right on that? Do you think today was Joshua Palmer's coming out party?
I would say so, definitely. I just want to see him be more consistent as we go along. Just kind of like we say about Mike Williams, he'll have these great games, and then the next week he doesn't really have any stats behind him. So if he can continue to put this together and catch the ball when it's thrown to him, I think this is definitely something you build on. And you said it right there. This could be the most impressive win that the Chargers have had all season. It probably is. With all the injuries they had, they went on the road. They beat a team that's in first place. Even though the NFC South is god-awful, it's still a win against a division-leading team with all of your injuries. Super proud of the way they played. The coaching, I thought, was amazing. I really got to give kudos to Brandon Staley. I thought his coaching was great, and Joe Lombardi's play calling was great as well, as I said earlier. Defensively, I know we haven't talked about that yet. I kind of want to jump around over there because Drew Tranquill should really get more credit. Even though he got blown the hell up by Cordell Patterson on that touchdown, Drew Tranquill should get credit for how good he's playing. Because we're definitely not getting the production from some guys that we expected, but Drew Tranquill is not in can't be labeled as that because he's playing better than what we expected. I think Drew Tranquill, I don't know. If it wasn't for Drew Tranquill at linebacker, I think we'd have major concerns, even more than we do when it comes to the running game.
I think he brings a different energy to that defense, and he brings that culture, that attitude towards that defense that we simply do not have at all positions of the field. You mentioned Derwin James always kind of brings the heat every single time. I think Tranquill's right behind him in doing that. 8 tackles today, 2 assist tackles. Obviously had that big sack. I think that sack was a very early, I don't want to say the official turning point, but very early turning point in that game. You know, the first 2 possessions, I mean, it was just like, we're never going to be able to stop this offense. Then Tranquill gets that sack, and it was kind of like the Falcons coming back down to earth and kind of like the reset to the Chargers defense of, oh yeah, this is not that talented of an offense and we can stop them. So I think when you look back at one of the most important plays of the game, that play is going to stand out to me. And that, you know, it's kind of establishment of, hey, we can win this game. Hey, let's get it going. Let's bring it back together. Let's get our offense back out here. And we got offense back out there and they scored. So I give he's my defense player of the game by far is Drew Tranquill. I mean, I love everything he's doing. More than welcome, invited to come on the pod absolutely whenever he wants to. Just saying, invitation is there.
You know, it's funny. He played a great game. The interesting thing is what you're going to see on TV a lot for people who didn't see the Charger Falcons game, and you're going to see it on different broadcasts. I'm sure you're going to see the come on man's, the whole deal. When he got lit up by Patterson was a hell of a collision. I mean, it was like, wow. I mean, as much as you're sitting there rooting for him, for us 3 at least, you'd sit there and just go, unbelievable. Jonathan Vilma, who was the color commentator for Fox in this game, it was laugh out loud funny, okay, on that hit. It reminded me, guys, and I might date myself on this one for you guys and for me, Sean Merriman going against Maurice Jones-Drew. We think the same thing, Josh?
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah.
Okay. And Sean Merriman was a great player, but Maurice Jones-Drew got the leverage and laid a hell of a hit on Sean Merriman. And it was like all you could talk about. It was one of those, I guarantee you, Merriman will tell you, it was probably the most embarrassing thing of his career. This was the most embarrassing thing of Drew Tranquill's career. I mean, it was a hell of a collision where it was just like, it was a man against boys just crushing him. And then Patterson didn't make it any more embarrassing, you know, when he sits there and he does the whole finger thing, and it was nuts. That play was crazy. If you love the NFL and your feelings don't get hurt, you got to see it, because if you didn't catch it, it is unbelievable. Jonathan Vilma probably going to get in trouble for what he said on TV, but there a bunch of religious people are going to be upset by what he said. But holy cow, was that great? That was something else. I'm glad the Chargers won and we can kind of laugh about it. But man, was that a collision? That was something else.
That was a car accident on the football field right there.
Yeah.
I love football because of stuff like that, but I also hate that it takes away from Drew Tranquill's game, because nobody's going to remember the 12 tackles or whatever he had today. Everybody's going to remember that play. If Drew Tranquill didn't play today, we would have lost this game. 100% we
Yes.
would have lost this game because he makes that big of an impact on the field. And Mario said it throughout the season. He brings an energy to the defense that they need so bad. Derwin James is similar, that he's flying all over the field. He might not make every tackle, Drew Tranquil, but he is just the same way. He is flying all over the field, and he's putting everything he has into every hit. I just love the way he plays. I can't think of another guy who has played above what we thought they were going to be this season like Drew Tranquil. Mario, is there anybody else besides Drew Tranquil, offense or defense, that you like the way they played today?
First thing is always Derwin James always played great. I want to go back to the linebacker thing. I feel like every linebacker has that one moment where like, this sucks. Like Urlacher got juked out by Peyton Manning. Maurice Jones-Drew runs over Merriman. I remember when Ocho Cinco just knocked Ray Lewis, blindsided the crap out of him, and he was like scared to go back out there because he's like, dude, he's gonna murder me next time I come across the middle. That's just always a classic. But return to this game. Honestly, I think I want to give a lot of credit to Derwin James as well because he's the tight end killer. But also, Asante Samuel, I think, did a great job when he got switched over to Kyle Pitts. I mean, the fact that there were some moments when Pitts, had a ball thrown to him and we were able to get on him fast and stop any completion from happening. I give a lot of credit to the secondary. I give a lot of credit to that. Anytime you can stop a guy like Kyle Pitts from having like a really big day on you, I think should be recognized and very much respected. So that stuck out to me. What about you, Dave? What's something that kind of was big for you in this 2017 victory over the Atlanta Falcons?
I love what you said about the Kyle Pitts thing. I mean, we said on Thursday that Kyle Pitts averages about two and a half catches a game, which we couldn't understand. Going, here's a guy that was, highly drafted, and we saw him coming out of Florida, and we saw how great he was. Again, 2 receptions for 27 yards is what he was held to today. Some of that, though, I think had a lot to blame with Mariota. It's like Mariota's worst passes of the day were to Kyle Pitts, where he was just missing them. He was overthrowing them. And I think if you are a Falcons fan, and you go, man, if we had a real quarterback, what should be an NFL-style quarterback being accurate, Kyle Pitts has a bigger day. But again, 2 receptions. Drake London, only 3 receptions. So you guys are right. The secondary did a fantastic job on what they're supposed to do. My standout, though, would be still Josh Palmer. I think before the game, I picked Eckler and Derwin James as my 2 guys to watch this week. I almost feel like Austin Eckler falls in the category, guys, of Justin Herbert, where we do our picks, but you can't pick the quarterback. That Eckler is almost the easy way out. I mean, Eckler does so many different things for this team that he's just the easy way out. He's by far the number 1 weapon on offense, at least the weapon that you feel most secure that something good is going to happen when he's on the field.
Austin Eckler had 7 catches today, along with 14 carries. I always say he's not going to be able to sustain the season getting hit that many times, but dude, he is just hard to tackle, and it looks like nothing really phases him. I think he's the most impressive player on the team for his size, of how the kind of beating he takes every game. The fumble, like you said earlier, was so uncharacteristic because he never does that. But if we didn't have Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert, I mean, obviously they're 2 of the best players in the NFL. Every team would suffer, but we'd be like the worst team in the NFL. Like, that's how much of an impact they have on the offense. I just love watching them play every week. I want to give credit also to Jamar Sailor once again, dude. This guy, if you guys remember, was not supposed to play this season. He's completely stepped in for Rashawn Slater and done an amazing job. I think he deserves a lot of kudos as well. Obviously, the kicker winning the games. I didn't even know he was our kicker going into the game, to be honest with you. So really proud of the guys that step up. I think this Chargers team is actually unbiasedly a team people should worry about, because once they get all their weapons back, it's kind of like when LeBron James and Anthony Davis don't play with the Lakers and all the role players have to step up. It's one of those things. So when we get our players back, and if they play up to this level, the Chargers are actually a team that I think can compete all the way to the Super Bowl.
Real quick about the Eckler deal, not just I wasn't compliment him. Hey, that play that was called back, where we thought he stayed on his feet, it would have been another touchdown for him. I mean, that was a crazy play. When we saw it, we're like, no, he's not down at all. It took showing that play over and over again to show his left elbow touch the ground, but that was an incredible athletic play and smart play to keep going on the play. You see guys all the time who will think they're down or not understand when the play's over. I thought that was an outstanding play by Eckler as well. Again, that one was called back, but man, it shows your football IQ of where you're at. Again, really impressed. Right now, you're looking at the situation, guys, with the Chargers, again, coming off the bye week, and they're playing 4 out of 5 games on the road, right? It's not easy to do. It's not like the Chargers are dominating at home right now. I mean, they're 2-2 at home on the season with losses to Jacksonville and to Seattle, but still you have to travel. You have to get on that flight. Next week's flight's a shorter one. It's San Francisco. It's about an hour flight, not a big deal. But you're talking about taking on the Niners team on Sunday Night Football that is extremely talented. And so the Niners are a different team than they were a few weeks ago before Christian McCaffrey. You talked earlier in the show, Mario, about yards after the catch. You know, the Niners have led the NFL in yards after the catch every year since 2017. I mean, they are something else. Like, you got to make sure when you make contact, you're keeping those guys on the field, or on the ground. So with the Chargers, though, at Atlanta, at the 49ers, home against the Chiefs, and then you're on the road again 2 more times at the Cardinals and at the Raiders. This is a tough stretch for this team. After a while, that traveling does wear on you a little bit, and it does take away from designated practice time that you would normally have with the comforts of being at home. For the Chargers in this stretch here, it is really important that they play really their best football.
Is there somebody on the Chargers you would I know we're jumping ahead to the 49ers game, but is there somebody on the Chargers you would target as they have to play maybe as good as they played today or better to compete with the 49ers? Because the first person that jumps to my head is Asante Samuel Jr. The fact that he could do what he did against Kyle Pitts, who has an 8-inch advantage on him, is amazing. I think he's definitely one of those guys you need to step up and play well to compete against the 49ers offense that might be the best in the league.
I go to Mac right away. He had that strip fumble, which was a heck of a play. But besides that, I don't think he was like the biggest factor in this game, I would say. We did pressure Marcus a lot today, but I mean, there's just sometimes like he just took one step to the right. And I mean, it was like on delay. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just jumped. Like, I'm like, what are we doing, guys? Break down a little bit. But I would say Mac. You know, we got Jimmy G, who was told, he's a backup all summer. He's not that great of a quarterback. I'd say he's an average to good quarterback. Put a little bit of pressure on him. I'm guessing Mac's going to go up against Trent Williams. That's, if not the best, one of the best offensive linemen in the league. He's going to need to have a big game, and I think he will have a big game because Sunday Night Football is Mac's dream. That guy lives for big moments. I think he's the one where I'd look at right away going, I need you to put a lot of pressure on Jimmy G. You can't just have him sit back there all day and look at his friends, Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. Like, you got to do something, get it in his face. I think it's going to be a huge defensive test, especially with the offensive mind that Kyle Shanahan is.
Yeah, as we start looking ahead, because let's go what's next. I mean, it always feels good, I guess, after a win, but you're saying what's next. This 49er team has turned into a team, guys, that for me, they're my favorite to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I mean, a ton of talent. And the guy that you worry about stopping most, before I would have told you it's Deebo. I think Deebo Samuel is just one of the best weapons in the NFL. It's such mismatch problems, just like what we say, Tyreek Hill, what a mismatch problem. Travis Kelce, what a mismatch problem. But when you're sitting there and you're looking at what the Niners have right now, I think Kyle Shanahan loves his new toy. I think he loves Christian McCaffrey, and he's trying to find more and more ways to use him. Everyone talks about in San Francisco, this guy's football IQ is off the charts. Of course, raised in a football family. Man, there are a lot of weapons. I mean, we didn't even talk about George Kittle. We know George Kittle can be a tremendous weapon when healthy, and you kind of wonder which George Kittle you're going to get. But, man, this Niner team is very, very scary. I would love to see the Chargers go to San Francisco and pull out this win and keep it going. You know what I mean? You want to see the win streaks come along, and you keep it going. And for the Chargers, I don't know when they're going to play their best football. I mean, we know next week Mike Williams isn't playing, right? We don't know about Keenan Allen. I mean, are we to the point with Keenan Allen? By the way, if you're listening to this podcast right now or you're watching this is the show where Mario is supposed to punch himself right in the face because he bet his face on Keenan Allen playing this weekend. And so you got to stay around for the end of the show to see how this is going to turn out. But, I mean, honestly, I don't know with you guys, but I'm to the point now, 8 games through the season, I almost go about it. If Keenan shows up, he shows up. Keenan hasn't played the equivalent of one full NFL game this entire season. If he's there, he's there. If he's not, it shouldn't be a surprise to any of us anymore.
No, not a surprise at all. I'm just curious to how long he is going to be out because he said he had a setback during the bye week. How the hell does that happen, by the way? How do you have a setback during the bye week? What were you doing?
Yeah.
Him and Mike Williams sound like they're not going to be back for a few weeks at least. The 49ers team scares me for everything you just said and that they had the bye week. So Shanahan's like in a dark room thinking about plays for Christian McCaffrey. It's just kind of a scary thought because they have all those targets. I thought the Falcons were an actual good test for the Chargers before we played the 49ers. They got the big tight end. They got the 3 running backs. Obviously they're not as good as the 49ers, but it was almost like preparation, I think, for the 49ers game. Jimmy G's a lot similar to Marcus Mariota in the way he plays. That's another thing. He doesn't run as much as Marcus does. By the way, I think Marcus Mariota is a legit quarterback. I don't think he's a top quarterback at all, but he's definitely a quarterback that can win you games, just like Jimmy G. I think
he's an NFL starter. Like he's an
NFL
starting
quarterback. I do think Marcus Mariota is an NFL starter. I think he's better than at least 5 quarterbacks in the league. He's definitely towards the bottom, but he can win games. Like I said, they're in first place for a reason. He's doing good enough. Jimmy G is kind of the same thing. He does enough to get them wins. He's not somebody that scares me, but when you're talking about all the running backs they have and George Kittle, it's like, you got to tackle, man, because if they tackle the way they did in the beginning of this game, we're not going to have a chance. But I don't know. Who knows? The Chargers will surprise you, and the 49ers will surprise you too. They lost the Falcons earlier in the season.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing I'm worried about is Shanahan's watching this game. And, he's like, if I had to find weakness in the defense today, it's 1, the start of the game, and 2, it's the tackling. The amount of missed tackles we had was just brutal. And then 3, I'd say, wow, Cordell Patterson is a hell of a player. He can do a lot of things on the football field. But I have Christian McCaffrey who can do everything he can do, but better. I have Deebo Samuel that can do everything he can do, but a little bit better. That worries me a lot. The good thing I like about the Niners and facing the Niners is they're a very good football team. They play up to their competition about 95% of the time. They also play down their competition about 90% of the time. They play down to Chicago. They play down to the Falcons. They played down to the Broncos. They've had moments in Kyle Shanahan's tenure where you're like, what is this team? What is going on? And I think that's, if anything, like a bright side to look at this. If we can get that Shanahan Niners off day when like they go from a Super Bowl contender to a mid team in the league, that's a huge win for the Chargers. That would be a huge W and a huge confidence booster going back to facing the Chiefs at home.
So it's funny you mentioned Patterson. Josh and I were talking about this earlier. We were talking about how you look at Patterson and how long he's been in the NFL. He came into the league in 2013, first-round draft pick out of the University of Tennessee. And through all the teams he's been with, just off the top of my head, Vikings, Raiders, Bears, Patriots, Falcons. I think 5 teams I think I have him with. How nobody figured out until he got to the Falcons that this guy would be great as a running back. I mean, he was supposed to be an expert kick returner. He's tied for the NFL record for a 109-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. But it's absolutely amazing. I mean, he is one of the more dangerous backs in the league when healthy. And he finally came back healthy again in this game against the Chargers. I think all of us were hoping that he'd be able to sit out another week and we'd miss him. But man, is he extremely dangerous. And for all those other teams, including Bill Belichick, who didn't know how to use him, is amazing how Atlanta has figured out a way to get the most out of this kid. It's been absolutely incredible, right?
Oh, 100%. I was kind of happy that the Falcons didn't hand the ball off to him more or get him more involved in the passing game. He only had 1 catch today. He's their Austin Eckler. He does everything for them. The fact that he only had 1 catch was huge for the Chargers. I was confused watching the Falcons in the second quarter throw the ball so much. Even though they were dropping passes, they should have been caught. They should have kept running the ball if I was the Falcons. I thought they let the Chargers off the hook. I don't know, man. Cordell Patterson has always been a running back, but yet, like you said, he was a receiver for every other team. It's weird that Bill Belichick couldn't see that. If he was a kick returner, like he's been his whole career, you would think he'd be a running back. I don't know. I can't say I knew it either. I mean, he still wears number, what is he, 82, 84?
84,
so
yeah.
Yeah, 84. He still thinks he's a receiver. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I can't believe him and Matt Nagy couldn't figure it out. No, but yeah, that was a good note that you just said, Josh. That was something I put in my notes. I forgot. The Falcons kind of fell in love with the play action a little bit when I'm like, you should probably just stick to the run because you got it, and that's keeping number 10 off the field. So why don't you stick to it? I think that was a little bit of fault on Arthur Smith's side, and I can't believe I'm calling Mike Vrabel disciple of not running the ball enough. But yeah, it was something they faded away to. Cordell Patterson, you kind of saw, I mean, at least in Chicago, you saw like his last year, they're like, wow, this guy's can do a lot of different things, and they just didn't utilize him. Then Falcons is kind of, they just unleashed him to a whole nother level. And he's explosive, he's talented. And it really surprised me because he just came off the IR. You know, sometimes when you see that, they're like, hey, we're going to limit this guy. We're not giving us that many touches. I mean, 13 carries on the ground's a lot. And then 1 catch. I mean, it's 14 times you're touching the football. That is a lot coming off IR. Yeah. And you're taking a lot of hits. That was very surprising to me. It was almost like felt like the Chargers weren't kind of expecting that either. Probably like, he's going to get little touches, but he was highly involved in this game.
Yeah, Keenan Allen was probably the one saying, "Hey, don't expect this guy to do anything. He's been injured."
Yeah.
You know, guys, looking at the
Another
NFL, we love obviously, you know, this game, and we talk about the surprises all the time in this game. You look at the way this thing goes, and I know we all picked games the other day. Some of the upsets today were extremely surprising. I mean, right now, as by the way, just update the AFC West standings as we do this show. Chiefs play tonight against the Titans. Chiefs are 5-2. Chargers are now 5-3 at the 49ers next week. Broncos have a bye. They host the Titans, or excuse me, they're at the Titans next week, and then the Raiders, who lost, and the Raiders were outscored, I believe, 27-0 after they jumped out to a 20-point lead. Raiders fall to 2-6, so they play against or host the Colts next weekend. But some of these games were extremely surprising, and one of the reasons why you pay attention, and just a few of them, Mario, as you're in Indianapolis today, Green Bay Packers continue to lose. Have now lost 5 straight games as they lose to the Detroit Lions. You know, you look at the New York Jets. The New York Jets knocked off the Buffalo Bills 2017. I mean, this is the NFL, right, where anything can possibly happen. But you got to be a little bit shocked by some of the things that you see in this league week in and week out.
Yeah, we said it earlier that no team's unbeatable. That's why the Chargers are such a threat, because nobody wants to play the Chargers. As bad as the Chargers look, nobody wants to play the Chargers because of number 10. You don't want to play against a guy that can make any play. So the fact that the Bills lost is great for the Chargers. Hopefully the Chiefs lose tonight. But this is what makes NFL so great. Today's game was a roller coaster. It seems like almost every game is a roller coaster. The Chargers are definitely a team that are going to compete all the way to the end, I think.
Yeah, like you said, Josh, I think you said this a couple weeks ago, anytime you have a franchise top-tier QB, no one wants to play you. It's just like, what if this week we get the 300, 400-yard gain, 4 touchdown passes from Herbert, and you're like sitting there going, oh, we can't do anything about that, you know? Speaking of the Midwest kid and growing up in the Midwest, it is Christmas morning, seeing Aaron Rodgers get in the red zone, and then you see like all these weird, no teeth, cheesehead people that you're like, I don't know why you go outside. You look so weird. And then you see him get really excited, and then he throws two picks in the red zone, and then they come back down, and then they cry. It's one of the best things about the NFL. It's one of the things I look forward to every Sunday. It really is. It's great. I will say this. You mentioned the Raiders. Wow, puberty voice crack. You mentioned the Raiders, Dave.
Yeah,
I'm done betting on the Raiders. I did.
Yeah, I would be too.
If I say anything about when we do gambling picks, if I say Raiders ever again, if anyone listening to the show, feel free to DM me and just attack me. Go all in. I mean, you got to make me feel bad, because that is one of the stupidest things I've ever done. I'm sick of the Raiders. I'm sick of everything about them. They're a terrible team. I can't wait for the Chargers to play them. That is one team I am so excited to play, because they will get up and then they'll get down so fast. And I'm sick of them. They're ugly, piss poor football team.
They are. They're complete disappointment. I mean, what the Raiders are doing, and we talked about this the other day, how there's a good chance they could say goodbye to Derek Carr as soon as the season's over. It's $110 million that would free up in space for them. One thing that the Raiders did was they got Devontae Adams involved in the game, and you go, okay, well, he's a high-priced wide receiver, one of the best weapons in the league. You're finally using him. 10 receptions, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns today. But you sit there and you go, why is this not working? You're supposed to have a head coach that's an offensive genius, and it's not working out for these guys. And so for Derek Carr today, 21-36, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And you're going, hey, you know what? We think we have a talented team. And then maybe the Raiders are delusional on this. I mean, we all know their defense isn't good. But the Raiders going into the season thought they were ready to turn the corner and make a run for an AFC championship game. I think most of us from the outside would say, oh, yeah, they were delusional. But to be 2-6 and to look as bad as they did against Jacksonville today, Josh pointed this out on Thursday. Jacksonville hasn't won a game since they knocked off the Chargers earlier in the season. And then the Raiders to get shut out against the Saints and then to travel to play Jacksonville and give up 27 unanswered points is insane.
Are the Chargers in a division with 2 of the 5 worst teams in the league? Are the Broncos and Raiders 2 of the worst teams in the league, like bottom 5?
not only worse, but I think disappointing, right? I mean,
Oh, for sure.
disappointing.
For sure. But are the Chargers really in a bad division? That's my question. Because going into the season, we all said the AFC West could be the best division ever. But it's really one of the worst. I don't know. Do you think the AFC West is one of the worst divisions in the NFL?
I would put the AFC South as the worst division for me, right? The Titans.
What about the NFC South?
The NFC South is pitiful. Yeah, those two divisions. I'd probably put them third, I guess, right?
That's crazy.
Honestly, because the AFC West still has the Chiefs and the Chargers.
Yeah.
I mean, two teams I think that will both be playoff teams. Obviously, the team that wins the division will go ahead and make it into the postseason. But the way it's shaping up in the NFC South, you could have a team with a losing record in the playoffs, right? It's ridiculous. I mean, right now, even if Tampa Bay pulls out the win today, they're going to have a losing record at 4-5, and they could, again, you're looking at a team that could possibly be in the playoffs. Speaking of that, Marty, I think you brought this up a couple weeks ago. Things in the NFL that you would change. What about getting rid of the divisions? And you just had AFC and NFC instead of seeing teams twice. You basically try to balance the schedule out the best you could, and through 17 games, the top 7 teams make it from both the AFC and the NFC.
Well, doesn't that ruin the rivalries that the NFL wants so badly?
It might, but I always think it helps maybe season ticket holders. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a Tennessee Titans season ticket holder. Do you want to see the Jags every year? Do you want to see the Texans every year? And I understand some teams aren't always bad, but you sit there and you go, what the hell? I mean, nothing to take away from Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, but man, when Tom Brady was in the AFC East, the Jets, Dolphins, and Bills were terrible his entire 20 years he was there.
Yeah, but that's also easy wins for Bill that you can just add to the resume. I think that would be the other arguments. Yeah, we see the Jaguars twice a year and they've been brutal, but that's also 2 easy wins that we could really use. It's 2 easy wins that the Ravens can't get in the AFC North the past decade because they have to go, at Pittsburgh. They have to face, at Cincinnati. So it's 2 wins. That's pretty big. Bill Belichick's dominance was unbelievable, but what really helped it was, you faced the piss poor Jets who had Mark Sanchez was their golden years. It sucks, but it's like the same argument with USC going to I'm blank the Big Ten. Yeah. It's like, okay, but you're gonna really miss out on playing Colorado, aren't you? That's an easy win right there. You think it's that hard to play at Colorado? No, not at all. These kids have played harder games at high school. I think that's the part that teams would push back on.
It's an automatic 6 wins for the Patriots in those years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
6 wins, automatic. A lot of teams don't get 6 wins an entire season, but you get the Jets twice, Dolphins twice, Bills twice if you're the Patriots. I don't know. As I said, if I'm a season ticket holder, there's certain teams I don't want to see all the time. I covered the Chargers for almost 25 straight years, and I'm actually almost 30 straight years. And there are so many times if I see this team one more time, I can't take it. I always look to see what the schedule was outside of the games inside the division. And it comes down to you want to see, quality quarterbacks, right? We always talk about, teams are identified by their quarterback. But if you're sitting there looking at teams with crappy quarterbacks, it's no fun as a person to go. It's an 8-hour day. You're going to the stadium. It's an 8-hour day to go to watch the game, to hang out with afterwards in the parking lot or fight traffic. It's you got to make it almost worth it to the fans to say, why we're doing certain things.
I think it's nuts that Tom Brady is always in a division with really bad quarterbacks.
Right?
It's nuts, dude. The way it's played out actually doesn't make any sense because the AFC East, I think everybody in the world would agree is the best division in the NFL. And I don't think it's even that close. All 4 teams are pretty good, I think. As you saw, the Jets beat the Bills today and the Dolphins are legit. Patriots will whoop up on a team 2 out of 3 weeks and they'll get stomped out. But Patriots aren't bad either. Okay, let's look back at this. He's in the worst division ever in the AFC East during his career. Now he's in a division where the other quarterbacks are Andy Dalton, PJ Walker, and Marcus Mariota. It's dude. And he's still losing? Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like he's planned it out perfectly. It's nuts. Also, I want to touch on something that I saw on Twitter today. I want to make sure we talk about this. The Packers tried to trade for DJ Moore, Darren Waller, Chase Claypool, and Jerry Jeudy, and all those teams said screw off, which I think is just hilarious because Aaron Rodgers so badly has wanted a target, and every team is like, no, Like we're just not going to deal with the Packers. And now the most points the Packers have scored all season is 27. I just love it. I don't like the way Aaron Rodgers has handled his teammates. Pause. The way he's acted is just not a leader to me. And then the Rams striking out on Brian Burns when they offered a 2024 first round pick, 2025 first round pick, and a second round pick in 2023. Brian Burns is a good player. How the hell do you turn that down if you're the Carolina Panthers? Like, am I missing something here? Is Brian Burns the greatest player of all time?
No, he's not. I mean, he's a fantastic player. Just the first part is too big of a deal to me. To go a number one is too big of a deal for the position he plays. I understood going after McCaffrey by the Rams and the Niners. Burns to me is a guy that helps control the defense, but no, I think that's a huge reach and way too much to give up. I don't know what Carolina was thinking holding on. What are you holding on for? Your roster's decimated. Why wouldn't you get all those picks and try and build more of a foundation?
2 first-round picks and a second-round pick.
Yeah.
I can't think of many players that you wouldn't trade for that, especially Brian Burns. Like, what?
Yes.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. And I think in the NFL, there's like a slim group of people that would be available enough for like 2 first-round picks. I don't think Burns would like if I had to list 5. He's not even in my brain yet. I think I could hit like 10, and then he would pop in maybe. That one didn't. I don't know. It makes no sense to me. The Green Bay thing. I'm happy you brought that up, Josh. That is such loser talk. Such loser talk. Hey guys, we didn't make a move, but don't you worry. Boy, we tried. We tried Claypool. Oh, we just didn't get him. Hey, we tried Jared Judy. Oh, we just didn't get him. Hey, we even tried Darren Waller, and we just didn't get him. You're a loser. You lost the trade deadline. Suck it up. That's what you did. You lost it. Don't stop trying to make it pretty. You lost. Okay. You sound like a mom that's helping her 16-year-old son after a bad football loss. Okay. You lost. You sucked. You blew it. You blew it. No, you're with Aaron Rodgers. Just eat it on the chin and go home.
Yeah. You're right. It's loser talk. It's as Derek Jeter always says, it sounds like something a loser would say. I mean, it's ridiculous. A few years ago, a buddy of mine is a huge San Diego Padre fan. The owner of the Padres put a tweet out saying, "We almost acquired Jacob deGrom." And he wrote back immediately, "Well, I almost bought season tickets." Like, dude, I don't care. Don't sit there and tell me what you almost did. You didn't get it done. Your job's to get it done. You couldn't get it done. And for Aaron Rodgers right now, who's so frustrated, I understand Aaron Rodgers being upset when the Packers never draft a skilled player in the first round to actually help him. I mean, to get Jordan Love was crazy a few years ago in the first round. But Aaron Rodgers to be upset makes me feel good at this point, because this is what Aaron Rodgers does. He creates this. Aaron Rodgers creates these problems. Devontae Adams isn't there because they couldn't afford to pay Devontae Adams. That's just the way it went. They couldn't afford to go get Brandon Cooks because Aaron Rodgers had to be the highest paid guy. He wasn't willing to take less or defer money the way Tom Brady had for years because he had to be the guy. Well, this is what you got. You have a huge bank account. You don't have the talent around you because you basically put the handcuffs on your front office. You weren't able to go get a deal for Claypool. You weren't able to do anything to help you out. So you sit there with the guys that are around you because this is what you have. And not to make it personal, but there's something odd about Aaron Rodgers, right? It's weird when your parents and your brother don't talk to you. It's weird when you're 40 years old almost and you can't have a relationship to sustain off the field with whoever he's dating at the time. He's a very strange guy. I mean, he's the guy that looks in the mirror and can't get enough. And that's about it. I'm sorry, but to me, he's one of those guys. Like, I'm guessing he just has a house full of mirrors and just stares at himself all the time, admires himself, or he talks trash about people he hates into that mirror. But Aaron Rodgers has created all this as an entire life. Really one of the more talented, most accurate quarterbacks I've ever seen. Won Super Bowl championship. And he alienates everybody. Everybody plays with everybody in his life. This is unfortunately is the human being that he is. And for the Packers to struggle now with 5 straight losses, he's not the kind of quarterback that's going to rally those guys to finish out the season strong. He's going to walk in there on Monday morning. He's going to point fingers to why it's everybody's fault but his. He's never once, even though he's the face of the franchise and maybe the face of the NFL at some point, being a multiple winner of MVP awards, he's not the guy that's going to rally that team. He's the guy that's going to go, all you guys suck. And I'm tired of sucking because of you guys. In reality, dude, you got the ball in your hands more than everybody else, and you can't make it happen. You just lost to the Lions, dude.
Tom Brady laid out the blueprint when he took less money so he could get more targets. And he said, I'm going to make that money back in endorsements after I play and a broadcasting career now. But
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers has nobody to blame but himself. You brought up Jordan Love, which is a weird thing they did. I just want to name some of the players that were drafted right after Jordan Love, like right after. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Hurts, if you wanted to get another quarterback. There's just tons of guys. That's just some of them here. There are tons of stars they could have got, but they decided to go with Jordan Love, which is hilarious because I don't feel bad for Aaron Rodgers at all. He's self-induced all of this pain. I know Mario loves every second of it.
Oh, yeah. It's beautiful. It's like the most, and there's nothing better about it. It's truly, I honestly, I can't wait for the like 30 for 30 doc or whatever they do. And they put out all his numbers and everything he does. And he's a fantastic player, one of the best to ever do it. And it's going to be so crazy to honestly look at his resume and go, and then there's one. He got one. It's just the beauty. It's honestly the beauty of football. It really is. It's the beauty of the game. You think of like Dan Marino. I think it was like in his early on in his career, he gets to the Super Bowl, and you would thought, oh, he's going to go multiple times. Yeah. And he goes once, and he never went back. It's the beauty. It's literally the beauty of the game.
Dan Marino was almost the same exact guy. I used to cover the Dolphins when Dan Marino was in his prime. And Dan Marino, I remember one time the Dolphins were in San Diego taking on the Chargers, and Brian Cox, who was a huge personality for the Miami Dolphins, was on one side of the locker room, and he was available first. So I go to that side of the locker room, and I get my soundbite from Brian Cox, and then I go over to Dan Marino, and there's a huge group of people around him. This is before the podium days, okay? And it used to be the home team, the quarterback, the coach go to the podium, and then the visiting quarterback would always stay and do it from his locker, do the interviews from his locker. And I asked Dan Marino a question that had already been asked, but it didn't matter to me. I just needed the soundbite. And he turned and looked at me, and he goes, where were you before when I answered this question? I was talking to Brian Cox. I'm the most important person on this team. You always come to me first. Forget everybody else in this locker room. I'm the guy you come to first. And I was like, all right, that's Dan Marino. It says enough for me of what Dan Marino is. I'm sorry, there are other quarterbacks in the league who wouldn't talk like that. Peyton Manning would never say that. You know what I mean? I don't think Tom Brady might think it. He would never say it. John Elway didn't talk like that. None of those guys I've dealt with over the years ever spoke that way. Yet that's the way Dan Marino spoke. That's the way I feel Aaron Rodgers is. He's just above everybody else. And maybe he is, but at the same time, when you aren't winning games, nobody cares where you rank on your team. You stink. You're a bad football team right now. You're going in the wrong direction. Are you going to be able to turn it around? Probably not. There's a good chance the Packers don't make the postseason this year the way they're going at it.
Yeah, you can do that if you play receiver, running back, but not as a quarterback. I think the time is now, by the way.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so here's the deal. Okay, start chewing that gum. Let's try and soften the blow a little bit. Okay, this is one of those things that when it was said on our broadcast, I thought it was the funniest damn thing of all time. Okay, it was Josh and I say all the time, Mario's radio gold. Okay, the stories he has are unbelievable. The things you say you've done in the past and how you think are just cracking me up every week. A week ago, Mario says on the Bolt City podcast, I'm going to punch myself right in the face if Keenan Allen does not play against the Falcons. And we laughed. That's funny. You know, thinking, how can a guy who dressed 2 weeks ago not be ready to go with another week off for his hamstring? And then here we are. We find out like 2 days before the game, Keenan Allen's out. He's not playing against the Falcons. And I'm thinking in my mind, man, it would really suck to walk 3,000 miles from Atlanta back to LA for what I said. But to punch myself in the face, I've been thinking about it nonstop. Where would I punch myself in the face to not do severe damage? I don't want to break my nose. I don't want to knock a tooth out. I definitely don't want to knock myself out because if you fall right out of the frame, what do we do? Mario, for the people who don't know, he controls all the equipment. Like if Mario, you get knocked out right now, what are Josh and I supposed to do? Do you want us to sign off? Do you want us to stay and wait till you gain consciousness? What do you want us to do?
I think it would be really funny if you call her a boss and don't give any like criteria what happened, and then we just leave Mario punching himself in the face on the screen, so that way he just walks in and just goes, "So, we doing all right, guys? Like, everyone all right? Like, what's going on over there?"
Now, when you do this, I want you honestly, when you post these shows, okay, I want you to tag Keenan Allen. This is 100% Keenan's fault. Like, this isn't your fault for opening your mouth. This is Keenan for not showing up to work. Do you agree, Josh?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, you better tag the Chargers and tag Keenan Allen in this. This is Keenan's fault that this happened. This is worse than people yelling at Keenan for not being active for the fantasy football team. I mean, you're taking a punch to the face.
Okay, this is what I will say. And sorry for people are getting probably the weirdest sound from the 5,000 pieces of gum in my mouth. But Keenan Allen, people can get mad at you for fantasy and not playing everything. You do have to give out a little respect that I am willing to punch myself in the face for you're not playing. That should deserve not a lot of respect, but give me 2%. Give me a little bit, you don't have to give me too much, but come on, man, big fan. Big fan.
So I hope he sends you an autographed jersey for this. I mean, good God, you're putting your face on the line for his hamstring.
I know, it's my moneymaker.
Yeah, it is. This is moneymaker in the face, right? It's
Let's get this over with, dude. And then I'm
let him do it.
You have anxiety?
What?
You have anxiety right now?
Yeah, thanks, therapist.
Dude, my face is beat red, dude. I'm so freaking nervous about this.
All right.
Full little mouth guard. All right.
Good. I'm glad.
Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Bolt City Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, with Mario Heron, Dave Pelle, and Josh Pelle. Go Bolts. Oh.
I think you went high. I think you went too high.
Yeah, thanks, Doc. Oh my God, dude, that one right here kind of hurt.
Yeah, no kidding. You don't chew gum up there. What the hell is going to put a
gum
in your mouth?
I might leave a mark.
Dude, I hope it does.
Nice punch.
Was it a good punch? It was a good pop?
It was a good punch. I could hear it.
Yeah, that was a good punch.
Okay, that's good.
Oh my God, I got lightheaded watching that. Oh my God.
Get this gum out. Stop doing that. Yeah, I went way too high.
You went, dude. What are you doing? The gum
went
was
way
down
too
in
high.
your jaw.
Yeah, went for your cheekbones.
I know. Yeah, and that's the thing that hurts right now. I know I went too high. I thought I'd look at the camera, but I just closed my eyes. So that one's on me. Hand up.
Why would you close your eyes? You know you're going to punch yourself. Never mind.
Well, why don't you do it, Dave?
I'm not doing it at all.
Let's see how a professional does it.
I'm not a professional, but I would have hit myself where the padding was. You had no padding up there.
Yeah, I know. I'm realizing that because my face is sore.
Dude, I hope you get an Adlib deal for cold steaks to put on your face.
Hey, I'll let you know that any advertiser, I can be bought so easily. I'll promote anything.
Dude, I give you credit for following through.
Yeah,
I give you credit. That was insane. That was crazy.
Usually, should have really aimed. I should have aimed lower. Well, what are you gonna do? Go fight yourself, kids.
Go fight yourselves. All right, let's log off. Go get some ice on your face. Jesus. Oh my God. All right. We'll see you guys in a couple days. We'll have an idea of where the standings are because the Chiefs play the Titans tonight on Sunday Night Football. Oh, man, we'll start looking forward to that Niners game against the Chargers as well. Again, final score today. Chargers win, guys. Big win for the Chargers, though, was something that they desperately needed. They went on basically with no time left on the clock, 37-yard field goal. I'm glad our kicker's name doesn't rhyme with Choker, his last name. So fantastic. Chargers win 2017 over the Falcons. For Josh Pelle, Mario Heron, Dave Pelle, we'll see you next time on the Bolt City Podcast. Thank you.